Sorare Fantasy Football has made some huge improvements recently. So what I want to do is discuss those improvements whilst looking at statistics and then as well analysing all of the potential risks. Now, if you're new to the channel and looking for a balanced argument, no, this isn't a sponsored video, but if you do want to support at the end of the video after you've listened to this, you can sign up with a link in the description. Besides that, I try and be as unbiased as I can throughout this, and I've been critical and I've been very harsh in the past, so let's get into it. The first reason: I've been playing Sorare for over 3 years, and what actually caused me to make this video today is today's news on the early access be ahead of the game cards. Now, Sorare have had this continued issue for the last 4 or 5 seasons of football where the biggest growth for any fantasy football game comes before the start of the season because it's the most unknowns, because it's the funnest time where everyone's discussing teams to build, players to buy. But Sorare could never really take advantage of that because the only way to get involved with that would be old season cards. And the problem with a lot of old season cards are, well, effectively they're going to become less useful as the new season cards get rolled out. And then alternatively, sometimes, especially youngsters, they're just not on the platform. So everyone will be talking about this young wonder kid that you should get involved with, and Sorare don't have that player. So a lot of that has been detrimental to the growth of Sorare from a new user perspective. And one of these games, you always need new users to come on as people leave and people join. It's just a natural growth cycle. So I think this is going to be key, not just because they've got ahead of the game and they finally worked out a nice way to do it, but it's the delivery of it. I mean, just the video itself looks really nice, but the whole pack element, now it's not a pack in terms of FIFA packs where you have to go out and buy them and you take a chance, you don't know what you're going to get. You know exactly what you're getting, but they're using great terminology which people can relate to, and at the same time it looks really clean. If you dive into the blog, you don't have to read it all. This video from Dan at Sorare was really key and really helpful. It's just effectively saying that of those new season cards, you're going to get exactly the card you get, and then they go one step beyond for something we haven't seen in Sorare, another improvement, a stealth improvement. 10%, I believe it is, of those, what they're calling getting ahead of the games, the early access cards, there'll be special edition cards, which typically throughout the history of Sorare are worth a little bit more because they look a little bit better, they're a bit unique and a bit collectible. And why we've never seen that is because every old school, 99% of the old school collectible cards, you all had to purchase. Very few of them were ever won or distributed in a random way. Now this takes the best of both worlds, where Sorare get to benefit from higher prices, but they also at the same time don't distribute them to everyone. So there's that luck, there's a collectability of having to get lucky and then buying them off someone that you want. I really like that as an aspect of the game that we haven't seen. We need a little bit more. We do need somewhere it's based on pure performance. So you can say, right, I got this special edition, Mohamed Salah, but I got him because I won the Liverpool competition where I needed 2 Liverpool players and 3 Premier League players, something like that. So not only do you have that prime time pre-season fantasy football hype, you've also done it in a way that current players of the game absolutely love. It's clean, it's understandable, it's relatable. And there's actually a third reason in this very one post. Brand ambassador Kylian Mbappe is finally being that true ambassador. Now, I think myself and a lot of the other Sorare OGs have always had this it's great to have Messi, it's great to have Mbappe as an ambassador, but they hold a shirt and they don't really do too much more. Now, in this clip, Mbappe's actually looking at the cards, doing a little bit of bad acting and, saying, I don't know who I'm going to get. That sort of virality. Now, I don't think this particular clip is that great. I think, as a first attempt, it's great. But growing on that and saying, we can link up Mbappe with someone else in a French team and all of these different ideas to grow content and market at the end of the day, it could be so huge for the game because we've always had these connections, even from the very, very start before, some of the early investors in Sorare are people like Griezmann, professional footballers. I'm sure, finally, hopefully, we're getting to that stage where the marketing kind of ties in a little bit better. Moving on to the next point, I've always been as honest with my feedback as I can. That's got me in hot water, that's got me in good water, but at the end of the day, Sorare always listen to me and plenty of other people in the community to try and build on their success. And why I say that now is because it's very important to the next point, rivals. I have been one of the most critical people on Rivals because the concept of playing a 5-a-side game and getting a very small chance of prizes and once in every game, and then a lot of people, you'd have the same teams. It made absolutely no sense of having this huge push, putting so much like influencers and marketing behind it when the product wasn't really there. But what we've seen over the Euros is what I would just call a genius idea that's finally starting to develop into maybe the aspect I couldn't see, maybe the bigger picture, which only, Sorare staff would have known. This idea of free-to-play gaming with friends that like onboard you into Sorare in a very easy, user-friendly, low-cost or no-cost way. Because over the Euros, if you're not a Sorare fantasy football expert, which I'm not sure if I'd even call myself one of those, Sorare Rivals actually introduced what I would call the first ever successful co-op Sorare mode. Now in terms of co-op, it's just, playing with friends or playing with other users on the platform for the same collective goal. In this case, playing five-a-side football, real world football with Zidane. And it's not over. We're currently sitting in 161st place, 255th place. So there's a chance to go up those leaderboards. It's been fun. It's been free to play. Everyone's been on a level platform. It has been amazing. Now, this shouldn't be, and I don't think will be, a one-time event. Of course, for the Euros, it might be 4 years away. But for the Premier League, for the Bundesliga maybe for La Liga, it's already been teased that at least one of those will be coming true. Now, we don't know the potential prizes. We don't know how the game evolves. I don't think it's been perfect. But for a first run, it's been absolutely amazing for a free-to-play version in terms of playing with friends and at the same time, clever ideas where it's like only the top 5 scores count. So if you miss a game, like I've missed a few, which is why I'm bottom of the leaderboard, not because I'm awful, it helps you say like, well, that doesn't matter. I'm not out of it. Whereas if in a long-form competition on regular Sorare, you missed a game week, goodbye. Because there's 10,000 other people that haven't missed a game week, so they can play. And I think it's great because it attracts that hardcore and that casual user where I'm finding myself transitioning from the hardcore user, playing every day, trading every day, more to a casual user at this point. And I don't think I should be, out of the running because of that. In fact, the opposite. You should try and attract your casual users because your hardcore fan base would absolutely love that as well. So overall, Rivals has been great. I will say some criticism of it. There were some difficult to understand rules. I mean, I still don't exactly know how the scoring works. Like, there's 3 games a day and only one of them's going to count and things like this. So if you can simplify that and get some new users on board with, maybe a beginners league and a, big experience, there's so many easy wins there where I think Rivals has proven me wrong. I was so critical of it. And I still, to a degree, think there is maybe too much going to the free-to-play version. Like, we can do some events for the pro version as well. But I think they'll be coming next year as well. Because rather than this being a news article, it's more of an anticipation or a feeling or a bit of a known, is that Sorare always want to provide real-world football experiences. This year, we've seen players play at Anfield. Previous years, we've seen people go on I think it was the Juventus team flight, or it's the AC Milan team flight to a Champions League game and watch it VIP. Those sort of experiences, once the general public or general football fan base know that that's available, and now you can play on a very low cost of £100, £500, £1,000 would get you such an incredibly good team. I think that's great. Now, let's talk about the downside on effectively the prices are such a favourable level right now because they fell quite dramatically over the last 2 or 3 years. And I'll touch on that in the statistics side of the video. But just to give a little positive caveat to that, at some point, it gets to the point where it's this experience or this potential prize pool is worth that. And at the same time, by making the prices really cheap, you can build a team for probably £10 or £20. It makes it playable by everyone. And that is what they were always going for. They always want 1 million users. I remember that from very early days. They want to have the top 20 leagues covered and be this huge fantasy football game. And now, yes, prices are lower. And if you've been here, it is unfortunate that prices have fell. But if you can take the brighter side of Leaf and say, wow, at least it opens it up for 1 million users now, maybe the upside will be worth the downside in the long term. Who knows? And I think I've teased my favourite area long enough, the geeky statistics side of the game. So just looking at the number of managers to buy a card, first time buyers of cards, This is a key metric for any game, but it's so key for Sorare because that stage of actually onboarding a user to go out and buy and compete, that's like the first, right, they're real players. They're not just trying to grind out free rewards or test it out. They're actually wanting to play. Now, of course, it's a bit of overlap if you spend £1 on a card, whatever. It's still a key metric. And across 2024, we started horribly, minus 50%, minus 55%. Now, there are multiple reasons for that. There was a huge change at the start of 2024, I can't remember exactly, where they changed the division structures. And if you had been here for a long time and you were on the wrong side of that, I could completely understand leaving because it was what I called and all the other content creators Sorare 2.0. And in that transition, because it wasn't really built sustainably enough at the time, that things had to change and people got caught on the wrong side where their players fell in value more than others. Just for example, if you had Premier League cards, you were far better off than if you had K-League cards. And yeah, that gap would never close again. But as harsh as that is in one respect, I was always on the bigger side, positive side of it, because I could see the long-term picture that this game is built sustainably. So if you do stay for the next 10 years or 5 years, it can do that as a game because it's much more sustainable. So happy to see these numbers, let's say, because although yes, you don't want them, it was for a better cause. And then once you start progressing, you start seeing that new users start coming back to the platform because that narrative is a lot more positive. You can imagine if you search Sorare into Twitter and all you see is people whinging and complaining and you see people shouting and saying this is a scam, avoid it, probably not going to onboard, probably not going to buy a card. But we've started to narrow out, and that's this, negative growth. This isn't just a Sorare problem. It was a crypto, NFT, gaming sort of bubble problem where it just grew so quickly at an uncontrollable rate. And then when prices are going up, more people join, prices high, people make more money in terms of if they sold out, but a lot of people, of course, didn't. And then as that starts to collapse and people are losing money, vice versa effect happens effectively. So you see these huge crashes and no users joining as the sentiment's bad and people are telling you if you join, you're only going to lose money and all the rest of it. So we've had a tough transition, but at the same time, I'm not really expecting this effect in terms of huge growth or this effect in terms of horrible comparative growth or just declining prices, declining fan bases, because it's transitioning away from that crypto NFT element. In fact, I was thinking about it the other day. I believe these cards are NFTs, but they could easily not be, and it'd be exactly the same game. At this point, it's just a legacy factor where people like myself that enjoy using Ethereum as a base currency can continue to do that. So here, what I'm trying to say effectively is that we've had, hopefully, the worst of it. And then when things start to look up, thankfully this time it's not this huge growth, everyone's going to make loads of money. It's a much more sustainable market. And if you've played the game, all you really want is price stability. So that, if you buy a player and he doesn't perform, he goes down. But if you buy a player and you win a reward, you come out as a net positive. Whereas in this 2023 year, it didn't matter really how well you were doing because more users selling meant prices go down and that ripple effect, which I said before, yeah, and it's just not a fun game because you feel cheated. Whereas I hope in the future, we might have a bit more of a positive bounce at some point. I'm thinking, July, August, as people hear about it, there'll be a marketing push. But I think overall, just price stability, any hardcore core user would be happy with, just so you get that fun element. Because I think also in this time period, 2021, 2022, Sorare had that potential to almost be like an investment where limited supply, yes, they increase every year, but more users will probably join than is based for that supply. And you'll think like, well, there's only 300 Mbappes and Mbappe's going to play football for the next 10 years. And then I expect this product to be really fun and 10 times the 10 times the amount of people to join, and he'll go up in value. And that was completely true. But at the end of the day, that is not possible anymore because of the fall in user growth. People see how risky it is, especially when there's history of it. But at the same time, it's transitioned more to a gaming game where it's like they're going to take 5% tax on if you sell a player. So very difficult to sort of beat that. unless you are a top performer on the game, which is what everyone strives and wants to be. So overall, I think if you had watched, I will put a caveat, because some of you hardcore simpletons would have watched the last video and said, you said this 3,551 number wasn't that impressive as a growth figure because of the marketing that was done. And that was my live reaction. But when I've sat and thought about it a little more, the growth for Euro 2024 was driven to a free-to-play Rivals game. Free-to-play. So buying a card isn't necessary, nor was ever necessary. So having in the same time period 3,551, a 69% increase on the prior year. In fact, I do think it's impressive. Now, it's just 1 month. We need to see similar sorts of numbers to get that sort of price stability because new supply joins every year. But overall, I think it's a really impressive number. You can see 69% growth hasn't been seen since August 2022. So yeah, overall, the statistics seem to line up, but the statistics are too short to really give a firm, I see a trend. It's just too early, but we might be starting to develop a trend. And now, despite being bullish throughout this video and hyping you all up, as a content creator, it's important to have balance and to, just give an overall fair perspective. And this just coming off the top of my head, I think the first thing for me is that as I've seen this game transition, in my experience, I've gone to more of a casual user because of the way the game's set up. I don't think it's as addictive, it's probably a bad term, or hooky, or as fun, probably the fairest way to say it, as it has been historically. But at the same time, I am more of a trader, buying a card because I think he'll have a good game of runs and selling them out, and that sort of taking advantage of the market, because that's what I enjoy doing. I'm a bit of a trader on this game at least, and that's not really possible because of some of the rules that were put in place. Alternatively, let's think about what's just happened in the last 6 to 8 months, whenever it was. Sorare has complete full control of these cards. If they want to cut the prize pool, they can cut the prize pool. If they want to make Premier League cards worth nothing anymore and make K-League cards worth everything anymore, they can do it. You put a lot of trust in an organization. Now, through the last 3-4 years, I've seen a lot of trust. I've spoke to a lot of the users. I spoke to a lot of the people there that work there, that care about this product so much. But at the same time, things change, and everyone's always in their self-interest at the end of the day. So when you needlessly need to put trust in a corporation, one of the things that attracted me to this game from the start was its individualness, where their NFTs, they can all change. And like I said, that's already moved. But just be aware of the risks of a corporation having effectively full control of the game, which gives them full control of the assets. I wouldn't call them assets, but it's the easiest term to use here, in the game. So they control. At the same time, they are not a publicly disclosed company where they need to say how much money they're making or losing. Throughout all of this fabulous work, they could be making or losing a huge amount of money, and then they go bankrupt, and then all of the cards are effectively bankrupt because they've got no prize pool. I will counter that and say that they've got some of the biggest funding in the world in terms of, a digital game, but also at the time of like SoftBank, one of the biggest investment banks in the world. That doesn't give you full... spend all the money you want, will give you more. Investments are looking for returns on their investments, which I think is another reason to think, okay, they need to provide for their shareholders more, probably more than they need to provide for their gamers coming into this better transition. So, if we saw a rise in the market tax, wouldn't surprise me. But overall, as a biased view, I do trust the team because of what I've seen for the last 3.5 years. I will also say the game's transitioned to more of a yearly cycle. So if you don't know, effectively these cards have unlimited utility for as long as they're playing football in a covered league, which is like the top 20, top 30, top 40 leagues in the world right now. But they are less effective. They go into a highly concentrated, more popular division if they're not in-season cards, if they're not the latest version of the cards. So just be aware, at the end of the season, if you do have a load of, all cards transition to old season cards effectively, you would expect them to fall. Again, I'm going to counter that point because right now, nice little bump in price on, 48% Salah, Gulaski, Xavi Simons, for example. But even going to £482 from a low of 241, and he's playing in the Euros. If you look on a longer time scale, the transition of card prices is always down because of increased supply. That's risky. Overall, the product in itself risky, and you see people like me that has £6,000 of digital cards. Pay no attention to me. Everyone's situation is completely different, and I know 100% if that was gone tomorrow, I would not be effective because I am in a better position than I was before Sorare. So you see biased views from most content creators that create the game because, you know, in order to be a content creator, a lot of people were here from the start where they saw massive growth. All of that stuff, at the end of the day, it's a highly risky game where you could lose everything. So always be aware of that. Everyone's always in their own self-interest at the end of the day. And I hope this video helped you. I hope it gave you a bit of balance on the whole argument. But for me, I'm liking what I'm seeing from Sorare recently. So yeah, all the best to you. Cheers.